Hi guys, my name is Emily, and today I'm going to be wrapping up my 2014-2015 Genre Exploration Challenge. And so I have been reading one book a month, completely the choice of someone else. No matter what they recommended, I had to read it, with varying results. I actually kind of used the Genre Exploration Challenge to kind of make my channel public. I figured it would be easier to connect with all of the people who recommended these books with a video of my thoughts than it would be for me to just email them a bunch of thoughts that maybe they wouldn't read. At least this is visual and they can hear the tone of voice, because oftentimes things don't come through in text. That was one of the reasons I actually started this channel. So I started off this challenge with Shades of Grey by Jasper Fforde. This was really cool because I had been watching BookTube for a while before I started making videos, and I'd seen this thrown around a lot of people were praising it, and so to have someone recommend something that was already on my radar was really cool. The response I got from you guys was interesting too, because I'd never really had response. So it was interesting to have people that I never talked to use my Facebook and message me their thoughts. So that was really cool. This was a really cool way to start off the challenge. My second book was The Language Instinct by Steven Pinker. My video for this actually earned me some somewhat hurtful and negative comments because the person who saw my video felt that I had misunderstood a passage. They basically tore me a new asshole, and I went back through this book, through the chapter, through the bit that he said I misinterpreted, and I read it over and over again. I tried to see it from his point of view. I still didn't entirely agree with him. Based on that really negative response, I decided to take down the video just because 2 videos in to my time on YouTube, I wasn't super prepared to deal with this and not take it in a personal way. Like, I mean, I haven't received a lot of negative feedback since, but I'm also a lot more careful about what I say and how I say it just because of this experience. So it was a learning experience wrapped into this book, and there's no longer a video for it. But I read it, so it's here in the wrap-up. My third book was A Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Once again, this was something that was on my radar that I wanted to read for a really long time. I actually took a science fiction course in university and was really hoping this would be on it, but the professor decided that all of us science fiction fans, which I wasn't, I was just interested in exploring the genre, would have already read this, and so she cut it out of the course. So I was very happy that someone recommended this for the challenge, and I really enjoyed it. My fourth book is Night Oracle by Paul Auster. This was a book recommended to me by one of my favorite professors in university, and I asked him for a recommendation, and he sent me a whole list of things because he couldn't pick one. And so I just picked the top thing off the list, and it happened to be amazing, and I would actually love to check out more of Paul Auster's works. So this I considered a huge success in terms of this challenge, exposing me to new authors that I would like to read more of. The fifth book in this challenge was The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat and Other Clinical Tales by Oliver Sacks. This was a book recommended to me by a friend who actually studies psychology, and she really enjoyed it, I guess, enough to recommend it, but as someone who doesn't study psychology, I found this really frustrating because I didn't get the why. So I got that these were some pretty weird stories, but I didn't get the significance, and so I found it sort of frustrating and repetitive. But my review sparked a lot of discussion in the comments from people who had read other works by Sacks and offered other places to go if I was interested in reading more, so maybe one day I will check out one of his other works that were recommended just because other people felt that they were more accessible to someone who doesn't necessarily know a lot about psychology. My sixth book was The Ghost of Ashbury High by Jacqueline Moriarty. This completely took me by surprise. I, based on the cover, was expecting something super cheesy, super YA, and I was surprised by how much I actually liked it. And this also sparked a lot of recommendations to read The Year of Secret Assignments, which is kind of set within this school with the same or overlapping characters. This was really fun. It was a perfect summer read. The seventh book in my challenge was End of Days by Eric Walters. This kind of came at a perfect time for me because I had just finished watching the first season of The 100 on Netflix, and I was kind of craving something end of the world-y, and so this was really cool. It is again young adult fiction, but it's also by a Canadian author, which is awesome. This book in the challenge just reminded me of him and his work. My eighth book in the challenge was House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This was a book with all the footnotes that I hated, and while I could appreciate the literary aspects of this novel, I did not enjoy the physical experience of reading. I found the physical experience of reading very frustrating. But it's a good thing that it was recommended for the challenge because I heard of this on BookTube a lot, so I would have picked it up eventually, but I probably wouldn't have finished it if it wasn't for the challenge. So I do have to thank the challenge for actually forcing me to finish this book. My 9th book was Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. I did not actually finish this. I got a third of the way in and it made me hate reading. So I stopped reading. I actually went into a huge reading slump. Yeah, this book just was not my friend, and so I didn't finish it. And this is the only book in the whole challenge that I did not finish. My 10th book was Arrows of the Queen by Mercedes Lackey. This is the first book in a fantasy trilogy, and while I really enjoyed the world building and the character development, at least of the main character, the plot was sort of lacking, which was kind of disappointing, but I still would like to check out the other 2 books in this series and see how Lackey's writing obviously improves as she writes more and gains more experience as a writer. Hopefully at some point this year, I will pick up the 2nd book and review that. My 11th book is Falling Angels by Barbara Gaddy, and this is probably by far my favorite book in the whole challenge. Even if I'd hated all the other books, having read this book would have made the challenge so successful in my mind because I loved the writing, I loved the story. I would love to check out more of Barbara Gaddy's works just because this was so amazing. My 12th and final book in the Genre Exploration Challenge is Among the Hidden by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This was a very, very fun, light, middle grade dystopia, and it was such a perfect way to wrap up the challenge. I probably wouldn't have picked a book for children so young for myself, so I'm glad that someone recommended it for me because I didn't read it in middle school. That's my year. That is not a calendar year, because I started this kind of oddly, because I was still in school last year, so I started after midterms. It was really fun. I would love to do this again at some point in the future, but I would probably do what One Small Paw is doing and try and incorporate a way to control what I am reading a little bit more. Just because there's so much that I want to read that I think her spin on this challenge of having people vote from books that she's already selected that she wants to read might work out more in my favor. So if I ever do this again at some point in the future, I will probably involve myself more and have it less up to chance. It was very interesting to just get a little taste of so many different genres and authors that I wouldn't have necessarily picked up by myself. I'd like to thank everyone who has been watching from the beginning and commenting and giving me feedback and recommendations. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for all of your support. It's kind of sad to see this come to an end. Like, what am I gonna do at the end of every month now? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.